Hey everyone, welcome to the Bronco Garage. Today we are going to be installing the 2-in-1 exhaust kit in this 1974 Ford Bronco.
And when Michael said we, he meant me too. Why am I here? Well,
So this is the 2-in-1 exhaust kit made by James Duff. It's got your head pipes, it's got your tailpipe, and it's got your mid pipes. It also comes with a muffler of your choosing, and it's all the hardware kit. It's literally a DIY kit you can do right in your garage. All of this stuff fits in one box, but you can also get the headers to go inside the box with the kit, and there's no extra charge in shipping. Okay, so one of the first things you want to do the moment this box arrives at your house is check it for damage. You have 72 hours. There's actually a tag on every box that says check all of your contents of your box, make sure it's in there, make sure the box isn't damaged. And so you're gonna look and, you know, like this damage right here, this could potentially mean that there's a pipe inside that's busted, you know, or missing. So be very mindful of the delivery of the moment it gets there. All right, so I've got everything laid out here, and I've got even the hardware. I mean, every little thing, just like they've got it here in the instruction sheet, I've got it laid out the same. And so I'm gonna come through and I'm gonna make sure that all the hardware, all the pieces, everything is exactly, you know, the contents are there. And the next thing I'm gonna do after I've, you know, made sure all my contents are here is I'm gonna come through and I'm gonna check the end of each pipe and make sure they're round. And you know, maybe I'll show you one that's actually looks round. And I'm going to check it for damage. I'm also going to check it for burrs and just make sure that everything's clean and ready for install. Because the last thing you want is to be dealing with this while you're underneath the Bronco. Also, if you'll notice, there's two sets of head pipes here. We've got the for the stock manifold guys on the end, and then on the inside we've got the head pipes for your shorty headers. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab each pipe, and wherever there is a joint, and I'm gonna put them in together like this. And I'm just gonna make sure that they can spin freely 360 degrees before I install this. That ensures that I'm not gonna have any issue when I'm actually under the truck. But everything is here, but what if there's something missing? You know, what if there's damage? You know, what do you do in that case? Well, I'll tell you what you do. You call James Duff. You know, and they're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6 Eastern Standard Time. What if your problem is on the weekend? Get a hold of them on email, actually even Facebook, Instagram as well. I mean, they are available. Call them first before anything. That way they can handle the problem, get it fixed, and get you on your way.
you're running EFI on here.
Yeah, I'm running the Phytech.
351 Windsor.
Right.
So the 351 Windsor is a little bit wider, and then you have the AOD
taller too.
And taller, and then the AOD transmission on here. And so we have stock manifolds right now, and we're going with shorty headers.
Yeah, and that's the big thing for me is that the AOD, when I'm doing my research, found out that long tubes have a lot harder time fitting around it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's you know, the pan is wider. It takes up more real estate between the frame. And you know, the frames on Broncos, early Broncos, are very narrow.
Yeah.
There was a lot of steps involved in order to get the long tubes in. And there's also the risk of scratching up the ceramic coating. After doing more research, I found the shorties install a lot easier.
Gotcha.
So that was the big winner for me.
So shorties are easier to install on the AOD, easier on the 351 as well?
Well, actually, I did. I learned that these particular shorties do have a small clearance issue on the inner fender.
Gotcha.
So we're going to have to address that in installing these.
Gotcha.
All right, so we've got the old exhaust out and it's time to put the new exhaust in. But first, we've got to install the new shorty headers. Now, what I've got here is passenger side. The issue with this here is if you have a 351 Windsor installed, it's going to make contact with your inner fender. So what we need to do is throw some tape on there. That way we don't damage the ceramic coating, and we can also find out where it's touching the inner fender so we can clearance it. We got the header here on the passenger side in position, and the concern is here on this back primary, and it would be a concern on the second to the furthest back primary if this part of the inner fender was still here. It's removed on this Bronco, but you'll just have to push the sheet metal out of the way, and that way to clear this back primary tube.
The main reason why you would go with a 2-in-1 exhaust is because of your transfer case. Now, the stock guys, we have a Dana 20 transfer case under our Bronco that gives us plenty of room between the frame and the transfer case to run our dual exhaust. But for you guys with the MP205 or an Atlas, you lose that room. And so right behind me, we have a Bronco with an NP205. So let me show you real quick what I'm talking about. This is the space that you have between the NP205 and your frame, which leaves you no space to run an exhaust pipe through there. Headers installed, and we got the bolts on there, but we are using the Remflex exhaust gasket, and on here it says torque down to 20 foot-pounds. That's 20, not your normal 25, no. But if you guys are running the normal gaskets on these, it's like 25 foot-pounds that you want to torque it down to. And then, important step, when you are finished installing everything, take it for a test drive, get it up to temperature, come back and re-torque all of your header bolts back to 25 foot-pounds. Super important because that really seals that gasket in there. So these are very clear. No retorquing required.
Now, the big thing is that you're not going to be able to torque every single one of these down with a torque wrench. So you want to get to the ones you can, and you want to get a feel for what 20 foot-pounds feels like. All right, so when you're torquing these down, you're going to want to start in the middle and work your way out.
So on the instructions, one of the things that it covers is how this little collector flange here actually may not fit if you have a 351 Windsor and you have the stock engine mounts. So basically, this just gets a little too close to the frame, and so what you have to do is you have to actually grind a little bit of it out. Let's take a look under the Bronco.
Oh yes, shall we?
You can see here is the space between the shorty header on the passenger side and the frame. So on this, because it's not the stock motor mounts, we got enough room that this isn't going to knock up against the frame and loosen your shorty header. So yeah, you just want to shave that little bit off right there.
Now, as you're installing this, one of the things you have to keep in mind is this piece here can slide in, and you have to be careful it doesn't slide in too far and goes and interrupts or gets in the way of your O2 sensor. Keep that in mind, because sometimes you just have to slide it in this far just to make it work, and if that's the case, you'll have to trim a little bit of this off. So for all all you guys that are running the advanced adapters crossmember, you're gonna have to make sure that you loosen up all the bolts that are holding it to the frame and to the mount on your transmission, because this part here is gonna have to go right up above it. It has to go right above the crossmember, so everything has to fit here just perfect. In order to do that, this crossmember has to be in the correct position.
So we got everything in position under the truck, and now what you want to do is you want to make sure that you aren't rubbing on anything, you aren't touching anything, you aren't touching the frame with the pipes, that you have plenty of room under there, and that's why you keep everything loose. We haven't tightened anything down. The tailpipe is just being held up by our jack stand, and we just want to make sure it's in the position that we want it to be in. You know, if this is sticking too far back, you can go in, you can cut the mid pipe down and move this up. Installing this on your Bronco is going to be different because every Bronco is different, but this is like the universal kit.
All right, we got the tailpipe right where we want it, so now it's time to mount the hanger and the L bracket. And first we have to measure how long we want these to be. We're gonna measure from the top of the tailpipe to the bottom of the frame. We've got 4 inches. So we're gonna go to the end of the ruler and then lay this L bracket where it mounts to the frame like this, through the hole of the hanger. So that's basically 4 inches right there. So now we need to make our marks and cut these pieces so they're the right length in order to hang them properly. So I'm gonna take and cut this off here, and then I'm gonna cut this off right here. This is what they end up looking like, and this is what we end up needing for our Bronco. To put them together, you'll use the supplied hardware, and what you want to do is you want to mount this to this like that. And again, once you put it on there, it might even go like this, but either way, you're going to take yourself a bolt, a washer, put it through like that, then another washer, and a lock washer, and a nut, like that. And then this grommet is going to go through that hole with another washer, and then this self-drilling screw is going to go through the frame. And then of course you'll use this clamp around the tube and it'll mount just like that. Alright, so this is the last step as far as mounting the exhaust system, is hanging this L bracket here on the front side of the muffler. But before we do that, we're going through and looking for any place in the system that's touching. Okay. But once it's clear, we're going to mount this bracket. Now with everything in place, we're going to go ahead and tighten everything systematically from front to back. And as we're tightening it, we're just going to make sure that it still is not touching anything until everything's completely tight and we're done. All right, we are done. So now, final step, you've got to go and start it up, and you're going to listen for leaks. You're going to check and make sure that everything is tight.
That was amazing. That sounded incredible. Very, very satisfying.
Yes, super quiet at idle, but like wakes up at 3,000 RPM.
Yes, super easy install. Yes, there are a lot of factors that go into how it all fits together and what's the best, you know, this and that, and like there's a lot that goes into that. But once you like start putting all the pipes together, it's super easy.
Yeah.
And it sounds incredible. Like, why would you take your Bronco to an exhaust shop when you can do this yourself?
So when we first got it started, we immediately noticed some exhaust leaks, but we took it outside, we warmed it up, and just we couldn't help ourselves and revved it. Holy cow! It sounds so good,
so good.
And obviously, you know, and as it got hotter, you know, the exhaust leaks got quieter, which was nice.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna take much. It'll be dialed in soon.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like when you heat it up, you know, and get this up to temperature, things are going to change. So that's why we want you to get it up to temperature.
Yep.
You know, check your header bolts, check your saddle clamps, all that kind of stuff under there. But man, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah,
thanks for coming over and helping out.
Totally, my pleasure.
Awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Everyone, thank you for hanging out at the Bronco Garage, and please subscribe and follow, and we'll have some more videos on the way.